Hey, welcome to our movie show. I am Mosley. That is Brandon and Cody. We are the Schlockaholics, and today we're going to be doing a little continuation of our holiday marathon. And today, oh shit, we got a little bit of echo going on there. Continuation of our holiday marathon. And today, oh shit, we got a little bit of echo going on there. I kind of like it. All right. So we're continuing our holiday marathon today with a couple selections from Cody. Why don't you tell us about the films that you chose for us, who did them, all that good stuff. We'll jump into some trailers and then some first impressions for these fine folks.
Cool. I picked a double feature for mine, but since they're both relatively short running time, it's kind of easy to knock them out in one punch. I think they run pretty well back to back watching them. And that is Axemas 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah. I got those signed physical copies, boy.
Oh, yeah. These are both written, directed, produced by John Ward of Dark Park Films. Has a YouTube channel with the same name, does a lot of movie reviews, all that. I think I stumbled upon these maybe on Tubi before I even knew that he did them. And then last year he was running a special where if you bought the set, you can mail them to him, and then he would sign them with 2 signed posters and mail them back to you. So that's what I did. Ended up getting both signed DVDs and then posters for each movie also signed. So I mean, definitely a sucker for that kind of stuff. And then helping out the guy that made it, that's always something that makes our hearts all warm and fuzzy on the inside.
Indeed. So that's rad, man. I'm definitely gonna have to try to get a couple of copies of these for myself if they are still available, and I probably wouldn't mind doing that. Mail it off to him to sign it if he's still willing to do that. That'd be pretty cool. These were definitely my first films from this dude. Obviously, we'll jump into all that with our first impressions here.
Well, it might not be. Have you seen Axe Grinder 2 or Meat Hook 4?
I have seen Axe Grinder 2, so there we go. That would have been my first John Ford, right?
John Ward.
Excuse me. That would have been my first film from him. And then, so I guess these are the second and third, or the second, really. They kind of do just match right up together, like Cody said. First one, I think, is, 28 minutes or something? And the second one is 33 minutes. So you can literally watch them both in just around an hour. Or under an hour if you don't watch the closing credits. And I would highly recommend doing it today. You could probably do it by the time we're done watching this, and then or by talking about it, and then, just start this back from the beginning, and you would still be done with the movies and the discussion in less time than it would take to watch Avatar 2, which Cody just did. We're going to have to talk about that on Monday. If that isn't fucking big budget Hollywood schlock, I don't know what is. So yeah, we're going to dive into the trailer for the first film here, and then I guess we'll share our impressions on that bad boy, and we'll just go through the motions like we normally do. So here it is, the trailer for Axemas #1 from 2017. That was a stuttery mess for me. Don't know if it was for you guys as well. Hopefully, StreamYard's not bullshitting it when it comes to their back end stuff. So hopefully, you guys out there in YouTube land actually got to see that. Oh, there's John Ward right there. Welcome, sir. I'm glad you were able to join us this afternoon.
Hey, John.
So starting out with Axemas 1, since this is your rodeo, Cody, we'll let you do your first impressions first. What did you think of this the first time that you saw it?
I enjoyed it. I like watching that trailer like that. I like that trailer. I like how, and without jumping ahead, in both these movies, I like that the killer runs. That's kind of nice. Then the slow, methodical, like this dude's just, Holland, he's coming to get you, and you're not gonna have much time to hide from him. But I don't remember if I watched the first two back to back the first time, but I enjoyed it. I'd much rather this movie be short and to the point than, another 30, 45 minutes of filler. And then we have there was 30 minutes of some really good stuff. So I like that this movie, got in, got out, and it's pretty much balls to the wall from start to finish.
It really is, yeah. It doesn't waste any time. The premise is real simple. I dig it. Incidentally, I will put the trailers in the description for any of you guys that was messed up for, because they are worth checking out just to get a little bit of a taste of what you're getting into here. But even if you don't, the trailers with their length are literally like a decent chunk of the movie, given that the first one's under 30 minutes, so that minute and 50 seconds there is like, you got a solid feel for the vibe and what you're getting into. All 4 films will be made into a 2-hour flick, John says. I didn't know that there was 2 more coming. They kind of make that joke or whatever at the end, like that there's not going to be a 3rd one, but that girl, I guess, was just referring to herself. So that's good to know, man. Keep them coming. Hopefully the next 4 get made into a film as well. We can get a box set going with these guys. Because Killer Santas, yeah, you can never get enough Killer Santas. Get a Krampus going in there, maybe some gingerbread men, reindeers, all types of fun stuff next year. So, Brandon, what was your first impression of this short when you first laid eyes upon it?
So it was kind of interesting. Yeah, I saw the IMDb and I was like, 3 and 4. Oh wow, oh, yeah, that's going to be interesting. I had heard about this a long time ago. I'd love to see it at Axemas, the movie. It was kind of funny because I was finally able to say, okay, I've had these for a little while. I actually have had them on my list for a long time. And I was like, okay, not only do I have an excuse to buy them, but I have an excuse to watch them, which I have a huge collection. So you couldn't tell from this room, but if you've seen any of the other videos, you can tell I've got a modest movie collection. And I was very much interested in it. I remember seeing like a post, it's like about some people who were dunking on the movies, and I was like, is it going to be bad? I was a little bit worried about it, but because I just watched a B movie not long ago that I was like, oh my gosh, why did I watch this? But then I watched this. I had gotten really sick, and I was very pleased with it. Matter of fact, when I did my first impressions reviews of them, which will be shortcoming maybe in a week or so, I'm sitting in the bed sick doing their reviews because I want to get my first thing off my mind. And I really did like them. I mean, the first one definitely is one that the length was good for. As Cody said, I like the short and sweet nature of it. Can't go wrong with the Killer Santa Claus. And I thought for what it was, it really did kick some butt during that time. And I'm pretty honest with my opinions on these things. So I will say it was a great surprise. I don't know what the other people would have been smoking on bad review for this. This is very good for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not reinventing the wheel or anything, but it's like less than a half an hour long. How can you even be mad at that? It's just a half an hour of a Santa killing people. I mean, pretty much delivers on what it's.
If we're talking about the same video, about that was riffing on these two movies, like that video of them complaining about it lasted longer than it would have taken for them to watch the two movies. So like if you're feeling like your time is wasted and then you're going to spend, X amount of time to kind of jump all over it, just seems kind of like a waste to me.
Maybe
That's
it's
ridiculous.
the internet thing.
Yeah.
Like, the internet likes to be
Fucking ridiculous.
mean for no reason. And
there's still a lot of people that try to do that, like, oh, I hate everything as a act of humor. Like, that's not a good gimmick. It was kind of already boring like 5 years into the angry video game nerd stuff. Most of us just held on as fans because we were nostalgic for the first 5 years. You don't have to shit on a movie to make content. I mean, it would have been much more productive for them to just fucking watch something they liked and talk about it for that long than it is to just shit on some killer Santa movies. And why you got to pick on Santa Claus? What do you ever do to you?
And though I've seen a movie before that takes place in in one of those container places, storage places, I have not seen a movie like this happen in it, and I think it's an excellent setting.
Oh yeah,
it does what it sets out to do, and I'll talk about how it even got better with the second time around, with the second one. So I thought it was a great film. Can't say enough about it. That I like, not just because the director has been here with us, but
right. Also, it's a good spot. It gives you that sense of like, it's like being in the woods, but not being in the woods. Like you're away from everybody. I mean, that place is shut down. It's not like anyone's visiting a storage shed or a storage place in the middle of the night. So, I mean, you're out there by yourself. So there's no cavalry coming over the top of the hill to help you guys.
Yeah, sometimes there's a guy with a handlebar mustache, drives around a little white pickup truck and kind of looks to make sure there aren't tweakers breaking into them from the outside, but I don't think too many of them have internal security, so you're pretty much fucked if a killer Santa is trapped in there with you. Storage units are fascinating, man. We've seen more movies that were built in storage units than we even realize, I'm sure. I always love it when they dress them up to be something else, like in Creepazoids, where it's supposed to be like a futuristic army base, but it's clearly like the fucking rent a box up the street from wherever Full Moon was shooting that thing. Well, I think Dave Dakota did it independently of them, maybe, or they hired him to do it. I forget the history there, but yeah, it's definitely a storage unit, and this only proves that you can make a storage unit look pretty creepy, even without dressing it up as a faux army base. The movie shot really well for what it is. I mean, clearly John knew what he was doing and could put together a film that looked pretty good. The effects aren't bad for what they were working with, I think everybody looks like the type of kids, nobody's obviously like a 40-year-old playing a 20-year-old. I don't know how old these people were, but they certainly looked the part of like, college, maybe slightly post-college age kids that would be hanging out partying with one of their friends where he works. I love how adorably innocent it is that they're going to party with like a 6-pack of beer. I think that's great. And yeah, it's rad, man. These are those types of movies that are fucking awesome for this time of year for people that are into the shit that we're into, because you can watch like 6 or 8 of them in between all the like, super sickeningly sweet holiday junk you're watching with the family. These are probably definitely going in my Christmas rotation just because they're so easy to watch. There's nothing in them particularly over the top. There's no nudity. It's just some Santa violence. I mean, I could easily watch it with the whole family and they'd probably get a kick out of it too. Honestly, kind of flabbergasted someone would put that much effort into shitting on this. I mean, that just, what are you doing with your life, man?
0 beer budget, yes.
I missed it here. Sorry. I wish those would show on screen just without me having to click them, but I can understand why in this day and age they don't allow that to happen. We'd have porn bots and dick jokes all over this thing constantly if that was the case. Yeah, I liked it, man. I liked it a lot. I was honestly kind of surprised it was as short as it was. It feels a little bit longer, but in a good way. I mean, it feels like, I don't know, like a 40-minute, 45-minute movie when you're watching it. Not because you're bored, just because you're like in pretty engaged. You want to see those kids get killed. David's nipples were certainly a shock. Uh, that guy, I don't know what was going on, why he chose that t-shirt. It must have been pretty chilly in the storage unit. That guy was cutting glass almost the whole movie, and he just seemed like a fun chap. Anybody that can hang out with their nipples out basically for that long and just looks like Axe body spray smells, I think he's all right in my book. And I'm glad to see that it seemed he made a little brief cameo in the second one. So that was neat.
And it's a first director effort, isn't it? Very cool. Yes.
It can be, yeah. Especially when you only have a 6-pack of beer to warm you up. Was it your first film, John? Was this before the other stuff that you'd done? He says yes, it was. Knocked it out of the park, man. I mean, you're clearly a student, at least visually, of how to put together a film, and the script wasn't horrible. I thought the dialogue was fine for what it was.
I was going to say it's a heck of a lot better than my first short film that I did.
It's got one of my favorite one-liners that I've ever heard in a horror film, where the chick's like, "Fuck you," and he goes, "Not till you're dead." That was like, it's just so good. I mean, the kills aren't amazing, but they're fine. I like it. I liked how chunky it looked when the axe was like stuck in someone's head. I thought that was pretty good. There's a pretty good decapitation in the film.
Oh yeah.
The effects are great for what they're doing it with, but you're not it's not Terrifier or something. If you're looking for that, then you're probably going to be a little disappointed. But if you're looking for some young person to get dispatched every few minutes while you sip on some solid eggnog, then it's a good movie for you. I don't know. I mean, what is there in the way of the plot? These friends are all going, I guess, on Christmas, right, to hang out with their sweet nipply friend David and his awesome storage unit that he has free reign of at night because he's like the nighttime employee, I guess. Maybe some of them do have internal security, because I feel like I've seen other movies where there's a security guard inside of a massive storage unit. I get the feeling this storage unit is pretty big, actually. And from the exterior shots, it did look like it was a sizable facility, not massively. It's not the fucking end of Raiders of the Lost Ark or anything, but it's definitely, bigger than the little corner stop rental unit place that we have around here, where it's like 8 units and that's it.
It's like an elevator. Right. So, yeah, that's a pretty decent. Oh, and hi, Mike McNally. Great to have you.
Oh, Michael. Yeah, we're officially live now, Michael. Thank you. It did look like they had to kind of shoot, depending on what access they had to the rest of the facility. It looked like they were doing some stuff to make it look bigger than they look, like Babylon 5, where someone runs down a thing and runs down it again the opposite direction or something. But, like, what would be the benefit in a storage facility of using the full place to shoot the thing? I mean, it's just a bunch of curves and corners and things like that, so it's going to look the same anyways. You might as well just shoot one little area of it and keep repurposing it. And you genuinely feel pretty trapped with them in there, like Cody mentioned, but basically they go down there to party and drink a 6-pack and maybe have some, well, I won't say greasy storage unit sex. The guy did bring a rolled up sleeping bag, which is pretty classy in my book, at least on slasher movie standards. They're just going to have a good time. There's definitely some creatures stirring on this Christmas Eve, and they all pretty much get interrupted before anything too gnarly can happen. And yeah, that's pretty much it. They're trapped in there with a killer Santa. He's running around. He's got a nice beard, a real beard, which we don't get in a lot of killer Santa movies, I feel like.
I mean, this is kind of a simple, by the numbers slasher that is freaking nice. Because
it is nice.
It goes there. It hits it where it needs to be hit, and then it gets out before you get bored. And I mean, I am a fan of slashers overall. I didn't think I would be. If you had asked me this question 20 years ago, I would have said, heck no, that's horrible. Why would anybody watch that? And then, but nowadays, I just like, yeah, no, not a dyed beard. That's pretty cool.
The only thing I can think of that would really be, I guess, a gripe about it is that one girl, the main girl, she had a quality to her voice that just kicked your ass with the reverberations off of the storage unit. There's nothing that he could have done about that, really. Or, there's only so much you can fix something like that in post, because it's just the nature of the acoustics when you're running around in a giant tin box. It seemed like everyone else's was fine. But when she started yelling at the end, maybe it was just because that was when she started yelling, but I feel like it was her specific voice just really, really rang in that bell, but it's not it doesn't last long enough to really take you out of it or make it a bummer, because the movie's over before it's a short film, so like that would be probably the only thing I noticed where it was like, oh, that's a little bit hard to deal with. But then it was only like a second of it and it was done with, so it's the way she goes. What do we got going down here? Part 3 will be very bloody in a big 2-story building. I was reading Melon at the same time. This guy just says Coco Melon.
Yeah, Maddie.
And then we got Yes, Not Dying Bread. Are these bands? They should be bands if they're not. Or Dyed Bread, excuse me. Colt 36, Vikes 28, 219 left in the fourth. Back to your stream, Captain. These guys are speaking in binary. I don't know what any of that means, but I'm glad you're having fun, guys. Voice, good to know. Yeah, it's just for a minute. It's just for like a second, and it's not. Maybe it only bothered me because I was watching it in a pretty beefy pair of headphones too at the time, and cranked to full volume, which is probably most of it's probably my fault. but it did feel. I could hear it in the mix a little bit. That girl's voice just really, really, worked well in there. And I'm sure that's something you have to notice when you're shooting in a place like that, is like, oh, it sounds a little weird in here, like a little different, different than it might be in a room full of stuff too. It was a pretty empty storage facility for the most part. Like the room, the units they were using obviously had to be empty. They can't just be shooting a short film in amongst like Grandma Pearl's, valuables or something, and some random unit. But yeah, man, I mean, it's right to the point. The twist at the end kind of comes fairly unexpectedly. I didn't think David and his nipples were going to be in on this plot to kill all these kids, but it turns out they were, because his brother, who's much, much older than him, which comes into play in the sequel, is a dude who likes to just dress up as Santa Claus and kill people and committed a little necrophilia, because it is not only heavily implied, he straight up says that's what he's going to do, which is awesome. Why not?
Oh, that's actually makes it easier. You work there. He says he worked at the place. But I will say, this is probably what Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 needed to be. If that movie was only 30 minutes long, and had been gotten rid of all of the scenes that they had put in from the first movie, it probably, and kept in Garbage Day. Garbage Day has to stay.
I think if you get rid of all the scenes from the first movie, it is like 30 minutes long.
Exactly. And see, all you need in this is Garbage Day, and it would be superior to everything on Silent Night 2. But you can't top Garbage Day. Best line in all films.
Yeah, it's probably the best thing ever uttered in front of a camera. So yeah, do you guys got a favorite kill in this one? I mean, that's what it really boils down to here.
The decapitation.
That's a good one. See, I watched them right back to back, so I know some of the gnarlier ones. A couple of them are in the second one for sure. I think there was just really a couple of head chops in this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was about the gist of it, but they were nicely pulled off. And respect for the scene where it shows him pulling the axe out of the head, or is that in the second one? I don't remember. I know there's one where he pulls it out of his stomach, which they show as well. A lot of low budget movies don't dare to do that because we might be able to see that it's an effect. But at the end of the day, we know it's a fucking effect. Who cares if you can see a little bit on the end of the axe that was like holding it to his stomach? Like, I don't care. Just cut it quick, and most people really probably wouldn't notice. But yeah, I just like to see the mechanics of stuff like that, even if it doesn't work seamlessly. I'd argue it not working seamlessly is half of the charm of these movies too. I mean, just in general, these types of films. So respect, man. I'm glad that you showed the nuts and bolts of that shit. I don't know. Yeah, that's probably, those instances are the things that stand out to me in terms of the violence. Mostly it's just some really cool shots in the movie. I like the part where the dude's peeking out of the storage unit as they're going by at the beginning of the film. And then the scene where the Santa's running down the corridor at them is genuinely kind of nerve-wracking, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's that episode of the X-Files they did back in the day where there's like those creatures with the glowing eyes and they're all low to the ground and they like come charging at the people. That shit just left something in me, I think, that just makes it anytime something comes rushing at me like that, I get fight or flight, but then embarrassingly, I honestly just kind of freeze with it. Yeah, like I'd be that dude that was like, what the fuck? And then he just chopped my head off. You know?
It's a psychological response. Whenever we see something moving at us real quick, it activates a flight or flight response in our brains, and that's one of the reasons why that is probably one of the most easy cheats to a good scare in a movie is if you can get something moving real quick at you, or even double time that, like, you know, speed it up a little bit.
Oh, where it has that inhuman quality where you're like, what, this can't possibly be happening, you know, and it does. It just makes you take pause, like, whoa, what the fuck? As a kid, I think, you ever imagine like seeing someone run next to the car? I don't know what implanted this horrifying thought in my head either as a kid, but I'd always sit there and like, just as you're on like a long car ride and you're just kind of looking out the window, and then in my brain would get to imagining like all of a sudden some guy's running inhumanly fast and he runs right up and then just stares at me as he's running alongside the car. And the idea that would just fucking terrify me. Yeah, I'd have to like ask my parents to put on some music or something, like gotta unwind from that. So yeah, there's something about that, you know. He says original Black Christmas was a big influence. I can see that. Was the girl Linnea, was her name a nod to Linnea Quigley, or was that just a fun name to throw in there? Because Linnea Quigley, isn't she killed in one of the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies? So there's like a Santa,
the first one,
I think.
Yeah, through the antlers.
Oh yeah, she gets the deer through the titties. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was the first one is such a good movie. I need to watch that. Matter of fact, this year I haven't watched it yet.
Or you can just watch the second one.
Yeah, you can watch the second one. It's the best parts of everything.
Two birds,
one stone. I did watch
stone.
Black Christmas, which is always a treat. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. Now that tends to get revisited year round. Big fan of the remake as well.
Oh, there you go.
I really like it. I haven't seen that newest one though.
See, it looks like you caught it, Mo. Yeah, it looks like the names are from Silent Night, Deadly Night. That's right there.
Very, very cool. So that kind of does it for the first one, for the most part. I don't know, man. That's just real well put together, solid short film, and we're right about running up on the point where those end credits would be rolling for it. So we did it, boys.
Well, before we get to those end credits, I did enjoy I'm a sucker for anything clown related. So the end of the movie.
Yes, I knew that you would be as soon as I saw it. I was like, that's why Cody chose this. There's a fucking clown stuck in there.
John that was John's little cameo in there.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Cool. Actually, I loved it at the end of both movies because there was that little thing at the end of both of them.
Yeah, and he's carrying a ghost face in the second one, isn't he?
The second one he actually goes after her, which is
different. A hammer.
Yeah. But, that's where, man. I'll admit, that's where like 90% of my praise comes from is the second movie. The first one was really good and solid, but the second one just hit it right there.
I like it. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
Let's do that now. I don't really have any other thoughts on this one. I think I've adequately shared them. Solid shit. If you like Killer Santa stuff, you need a quick holiday fix with your horror also included. Fire up that Tubi. Watch this with the family. And it's not even like portrayed as being actually Santa Claus, So, I mean, it's clearly just a guy with a scruffy beard in a storage unit. So it shouldn't fuck with your kids too much. If they're at that point where they're not ready for a Killer Santa movie, then I feel like if you're a horror fan, maybe you've done something wrong. But, maybe now's the time to start them with Axemas. Give it a go. So we're going to run that trailer for Axemas 2, baby. Let's check it out. Hopefully this one works a little better, at least for me, because I want to see them.
A year ago, a cloud came over this property, a cloud in the shape of a killer Santa Claus. Sarah Caldwell was the only survivor and only suspect.
I told the police what happened. They went back to the storage facility. They found my friends, but they couldn't find the bodies of the two killers.
Bodies just disappeared?
Have you seen the Die Hard movies?
Life isn't a movie. It doesn't repeat itself.
Oh, you really shouldn't have looked at that.
Where am I? What's happening?
Sarah, I'm coming for you!
How could the same thing happen to the same girl twice?
I love that line. That's so funny.
So did that work for you guys? You were able to watch
Yep.
it,
Oh, yeah.
sounds like. Okay. So
Yeah,
it's
the
just
first
me.
one was fine for me too.
Just punishing. Cool.
Yeah,
That's very
I
good
think
to
on
know.
your end. Actually,
Yeah.
anybody that's watching out there, how did the trailers go for y'all? Did it go smooth for y'all?
Yeah, because I don't know what this shit does. I mean, I just press the buttons and I put my faith in that duck to sort it out in the background, man. I mean, it's StreamYard, so they run a big game, talk about how their back end compensates for my shitty internet. So hopefully hopefully it's true.
When I look at lower budget slashers, I have to admit that Christmas tree kill is right up there with my favorite low budget slasher kills. Right up there with that killing the dude with the candle in Death or Lantern.
Yes.
Right
That's for some reason exactly what I thought of. Maybe because it was the last holiday movie that we did for the previous season. But man, is that fun. Because it's one of those kills where you're like, okay, but then you're laughing by the end of it.
Yeah.
Then the icing on the cake was he wrapped the lights on and turned the lights on.
I can barely get those fucking branches to hold an ornament. It's a big stretch, but
Behind the wrong tree.
And it's just funny because I've seen a lot of that lately too. Because I'm like 4 seasons into the new Doctor Who, and in both the Christmas specials, they have those fake Christmas trees like attack. In the first one turns into like a buzzsaw and is just fucking up their whole house and like chewing through doors. It's awesome. And I would love to see that happen in some type of a Christmas horror film where it actually has the opportunity to splatter somebody. Because you're not going to see that in like some, family-friendly British fucking space show. but it's possible. It planted the seed in my brain. So Christmas tree buzzsaw, make it happen, John. I loved this one, man. I'm gonna go first this time because I really, really, really did love this one. It amps up the humor. You could tell they were more comfortable with what they were doing, so they were just going for it. Like, it takes a little. I feel like you get that kill right out of the gate, and it takes a little bit to get some more kills too. But then once they come in, they definitely deliver. Instead of him just killing people with an axe. You get, machetes in there. He fucking lays some pipe on some people. Obviously kills a dude with a Christmas tree.
Yes.
What else? What am I missing? I feel like there's like one more there that I can't think of. I don't know. There's like a girl with her throat slit in one of the storage units. And basically the plot of this one is that, the chick that survived the first film, I forget her name, apologies, is
Sarah.
She's trying to date her older lady friend, her pretty hot older lady friend, tells her to me try a bookstore. You're not possibly going to meet some Ted Bundy looking motherfucker at a bookstore that's going to try to kill you in a storage unit. And that's exactly what happens. It turns out he's the middle brother, which makes perfect sense. I was so pleased with that because it's not really explained in the first movie why they're so drastically different in age. You're just like, some parents, maybe he was the high school baby and then they had a after fucking 40 surprise or something. You know what I mean? Like, it happens. So I didn't think too much in it. And then when it came out that, he was a middle brother and it explained the age gap, it was just adorable and I loved it. I like the Chris thing. This also has one of my favorite lines in it that I've ever seen in a Christmas movie, where the dude's named Chris and they're like, what, like Santa? And he's like, no, just Chris. Like, he's just a dude named Chris that happens.
Yeah, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, come on, what is wrong with you? It's so brilliant, man. The humor is on point. The cast is like, obviously pretty decent. Again, I didn't have a problem with anybody in this film. I liked the addition of the homeless kids sleeping out there in the storage unit because that's very true to life. It happens all the time. And yeah, I have nothing but praise for this one. I think that the Santa looked even more badass. I believe it was a different dude. They're both pretty beardy, so I wasn't sure
if it was
a
different
guy or not. Yeah. But this guy just like looks more imposing. Obviously, you saw him running there in the trailer too. He's coming like a fucking freight train at those kids. I just hope that he keeps coming back again and again and again because it's good stuff. What about you, Cody? What was your first impression when you initially watched this beast?
This one, it's I like this one a lot better than the first one, which is usually that's a kind of a tall order to find a sequel that you like better than the first one. I like this Santa, this brother, better than the first one. The first one was a little more subtle, like in the puns and the kind of one-liners, and this one kind of took it up to 10 with just his over the topness of saying those lines and then doing the tree killing at the beginning of the movie. And like it's what we hope for when we watch these kind of movies, is a character like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The progression of it too is enough that it still feels a bit like the first movie, but doesn't feel like it drastically changed in tone, because there was a little humorous element to the first one, and like you said, the one-liners were present. It's not like they completely flipped the script with this one. It's a natural evolution from the first one, and it increases all the things that you want to see increased for a sequel to something like that. So brilliantly done, man. What about you, Brandon? You dig this one obviously as well.
Oh yeah. Just as just to acknowledge the comment.
Oh yeah, let's get Michael up here. My bad.
I agree. That Mexican Santa Claus movie from 1959. I first saw it in Mystery Science Theater, but I do have it on Blu-ray because they re-released it on Blu-ray. It is very disturbing, especially when they have those reindeer laughing. It's just like a creepy Santa Claus abducting children and forcing them to work in his sweatshop. I mean, in his castle. But this one, I feel like I almost feel like it sounds disingenuous, but because I have nothing but praise for these, and it's you know, I mean, I do critique things I don't care for, and I let people know. But this one I liked even better than the first one, and like everything that was covered, except I think the one thing that I thought was even cooler is the look of this Santa killer, from the costume to him double like fisting the axes there, everything, and even the beard for that character, it just all looked even more menacing, even cooler on that. And he just in general, it was a little bit slower to start, but I kind of do like having a setup. So I think that actually was an advantage over the other one, is that I felt like it did have a little bit more of a setup to it. But otherwise, I just really enjoyed it all the way through. Just a fun ride.
He had a pretty good set of hair on his noggin too, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to focus on the beard because they are pretty beardy, but like the hair on his noggin was that solid sort of thickish dad hair. What you, as a kid, you'd look at it and he'd like brush some pomade into it and then make you some flapjacks or some shit, teach you how to whittle. It's good. He's a hairy man, and I hope he keeps coming back.
I love that Santa outfit.
That was cool.
That is a cool killer Santa outfit. I did like that.
I find I like the ones with like those weird cape-ish fringe things, or if they actually have a cape. Like I was watching Miracle on 34th Street yesterday with the kid, and there's the part where he's like putting on a Santa cape at the end. The new one, not the original. Yeah. And I was just struck by that, you know, like how badass it looks when he wraps the cape around that furry little collar on his regular Santa suit. It just, and then he has like a whip and reindeer. You know, I don't know. I think real life Santa. I think mythological Santa even would be able to kick a fair amount of ass if he really wanted to, you know. I think he's one of those subtle, powerful dudes like Master Roshi or something, you know. So Killer Santas get me hyped just because there is sort of a, I don't know, man. Maybe it's the red too. And the fact that he goes around in a sleigh out in the elements is pretty hardcore. Santa's pretty hardcore in general.
He's a pretty bad dude in Violent Night for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait, man. Hopefully
I need to see it. It needs to come to streaming for me because it's hard to get everything together to go to the theater these days because of work schedules, family, and all that. I just like, come on, get to my come up with a physical real quick so I can watch it.
Right. You guys will like it. It's good.
Oh, I know I'm gonna love it, man.
Oh yeah.
I'm really kind of bummed that I wasn't able to get out and see Bones and All. Really wanted to see that and Smile, but I missed my opportunity. It happens. They'll be on streaming soon enough, I'm sure.
Smiling's on Paramount Plus right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one's already out.
Well, that might be something I do later. We're trying to do the Christmas movies this weekend because I've been neglecting them for the most part, other than the stuff we've done for these. But yeah, I don't know what else.
Christmas.
I almost did last night instead of Miracle on 34th Street, but I was like, you know, the kid's hyped to watch a movie with me for a change. I probably should put on something stupid. Yeah, like, let's put on something she's going to be into. She likes Ernest, but I mean, it's Ernest, you know.
I say this is a good one, and if it's coming out with like if they're doing basically a big movie with all of them kind of mashed together, that's going to be pretty cool. I think.
Oh, can't wait. Yeah,
I would love to just consolidate. And one of the things I really like to do when it comes to one of the reasons why I like physical media is that if I can, I like ordering direct from the person who does it. And I feel bad that I didn't get the chance this time. I didn't do it this time. But
yeah, if you have these available, John, I'll certainly buy them from you and a ton of your other films.
I do know once it comes out, I'll probably see if I can get it from the source. That's because it's important to get it from the source.
See, I think me and Cody are dorks enough about it that we'd like to have the short film versions and then the compiled versions. I think that would be real cool.
Well, I will say that these are he definitely makes up if you have a problem with the short runtime. There's definitely plenty of bonus features packed on there. I mean, the second one's a 2-disc.
Yeah, I was going to say they've got plenty of bang for your buck on those discs.
I'm glad you bring that up, Cody, because that, you know, is probably it's not a gripe. Again, I mean, I don't want it to come across that way, but that's the only thing I found myself thinking about this one was like, damn, they introduced some cool elements in this one that I wouldn't have minded if the movie was an hour long. You know what I mean? Like, it would have gotten more time to, ruminate in a couple of different corners of this thing on some various stuff that, for the sake of time was just kind of skimmed over. But it introduced the middle brother and him being like this Ted Bundy-ish dude. Really, I liked it a lot. I think they could have built up some creepy shit with that. With maybe, I mean, if he had the ability to do this as a feature length already right out of the gate with this second one, there's enough neat stuff in it too that you could have easily fleshed it out to an hour.
Yeah, I mean, they very much could have. I mean, I know I definitely would. I'd much rather have more of part 2 than part 1. But I mean, you could very easily have made part 1 like the beginning of the movie, and then you get the credits, and then part 2 is the actual, 1 year later, and here's the movie. Yeah. I mean, like he was talking about putting them all 4 together. I mean, you could definitely combine 1 and 2 into a pretty nice feature-length movie, although I think the 3 of us here would rather just have, like what you were saying, part 2 just be a lot longer.
Oh,
yeah. But again, he's already addressed that because I didn't know shit about this, unfortunately, John. Cody has mentioned your name several times, and apparently you did Axe Grinder too, which I have seen. But this is the first time more consciously I knew it was your movie, and I dig it. And I really liked Axe Grinder too also. So definitely looking forward to seeing more of the stuff. But yeah, I don't know, him confirming that there already is more of them and there's going to be a bunch more is awesome. And
we'll have to cover Axe Grinder too eventually. I know we've covered the first one. It's of course, then again, I feel like there's so much to cover. There's so many cool things out there by so many people there. One thing I thought was interesting, that was an interesting connection, is when I was thinking about those storage units, I got like right back to the
I noticed that turtleneck. It was not lost on me. I'm always a little suspicious of a motherfucker in a turtleneck, like even outside of the context of horror movies. It's like, what is wrong with you? You're in that, and your mother didn't force you to be there? What the fuck is going on?
Actually, I have that Meat Hook Massacre box set. One of these days, I'm going to have to marathon that bad boy.
I got 2 part 3, so I guess I stopped right before.
You're at the cusp.
Yeah. I have a habit of doing that.
It's like me with Bad Ben.
Sometimes
you're right there. You just got to do it.
Sometimes you just got to hit the go on it and go through.
Do you guys have a favorite character between the two? I mean, and saying the Killer Santas is cheating. We will obviously all agree that the second Killer Santa is the better of the two, but the first guy was pretty great too. I don't want to discount him. He was like, he's where it began. This guy obviously had more to build off. So he was able to do the same shit and then add a bunch more to it, So I like both the Killer Santas, but in terms of the other people that inhabit this movies, who's probably your favorite?
Maybe the Survivor girl, because I think she does a good job with it. Comes across well, and you're sitting there with her for most of the movie, and has a great killing scene both times. Shoot. When she sets him on fire, darn. That tells you right there. She's like, I'm done with this crap. And then just bam, goes right to it.
Cropsied his ass. That's just fucked him up. I liked her cry laughing in the first one, too. I thought that was pretty cool. She might be the best actor of all the people in these, I think. Her and the Santas.
Yeah, that was going to be my pick. I think that her going from part 1 to part 2, I think she brought I feel like she brought more to the table in this one, and I thought she did. Was Sarah Caldwell? It's her character's name. Ashley Campbell, I believe, if I'm reading it right. I also, if we can't cheat and pick who the real favorite is in this, I will say that I think she develops really well from part 1 to part 2, and I would say my distant second would be the owner of the storage facility in the news commercial.
Yeah, that guy's fucking hilarious. I love how it's set up to where his coffee mug is in the
so you can read the mug, the advertisement.
It's so fucking good. I love it. Obviously, yeah, I think I would go with, Survivor Girl, or what did you say her name was? Caldwell?
Yeah, Ashley Campbell, and then it's Sarah Caldwell in the movie.
There you
Yes.
go. She was great. I do agree her evolution between the two was, handled well. And I like her enough. I wouldn't mind seeing some other stuff that she's in if it's out there, or if she's just in more of these movies. I mean, we don't know that friggin' John brained her with the hammer at the end of part 2 because I haven't seen part 3. So but if he didn't, I wouldn't complain about her coming back. She could be like the Sydney of the series because he did say Scream was a big influence. So who knows?
You may not. He may not have been going after her with the hammer. Maybe he saw this nail sticking up a little bit further on, and he was just really eager to get at that nail.
Yeah, maybe the gate was sticking, and he was walking over to help her get out. I mean, we don't know.
We'll find out soon enough.
And obviously, I love the Killer Santas, but I think we all know the real MVP of these films is David's nipples. So, do you guys have a favorite kill between the two? If you had to pick just one kill overall, I'm gonna have to go with the Christmas tree myself. I mean, it's just too spot on for my kind of taste to not.
Oh, yeah, that.
I think that's like the Santa being the favorite character. I don't think that's a fair one to pick because that's the obvious.
Ashley and Drew are back in part 3, and he says Monty is the mayor from Jaws. Yeah.
I'd say if leaving the Christmas tree out, because I feel like that's cheating, is probably because that for me would be like saying the candle kill is my favorite and Death o' Lantern. Of course it is, but the one when she gets back that dude and takes him down, I did like that. The guy who the brother, I did like that.
Yeah, I feel that. I think my favorite. Oh, go ahead.
I felt more from that than when she lit that Santa on fire, because he's just there to kind of get his revenge. So is the brother, but the brother, it's more personal, I think.
And I mean, while seeing Santa on fire is a bit startling, they go around going down chimneys. I mean, it's only a matter of time. You know what I'm saying? I think my favorite kill outside of the ones we've mentioned, or the Christmas tree one especially, is probably where he impales both those kids on that pole, like that section of pipe that he has. And then he's like, "Welcome to the North Pole." I love that shit because the one-liner is just ridiculous. And I love the fact that he impales both the kids on the pipe. Like, it reminds me of something Jason Voorhees would do or something like that, and it's believable because the Santa in this one feels so much more beefier and imposing than the dude in the first one. Like, he almost he's like a few months of working out. Like, if he got pumped up for a couple of months, he probably could have doubled for Goldberg in Santa's sleigh,
Santa with muscles.
Yeah, real muscles, like that are actually there for the whole movie. I think that the dude did great, but it's believable. If he'd impaled both of them on a pipe in the first movie, I don't know if I would have been as stoked on it. I still would have been stoked on it because, let's be honest, it doesn't take too much to impress me with that stuff. But I'm more hyped on it with this dude doing it because it's like, man, that's savage, and then he delivers like this cheesy one-liner and just warms every inch of my heart, so love it, man. I guess, do we have any other questions for John while we're here?
I've got I don't know if I have any question with the guy that played Santa Claus, Drew Marvick. He's been in a lot of movies, so if you guys like him, you can definitely check him out more. I hope I'm not saying this wrong, but he did, I think, wrote and directed a movie called Pool Party Massacre. That was pretty sweet.
I'm in.
I wonder, because her friend in this movie, she's the one that, hey, why don't you go meet some guy at a bookshop? Okay, I think I'll do that. What bookshop are you going to? So I'm wondering, is she a sister?
Ooh, that's a good thought. Maybe
she found out what bookstore. She found out what bookstore she was going to and when she was going to go. So I mean, if that wasn't a setup, I don't know what was. I wonder if she's a sister, maybe in the third one.
I was not that I was not that aware of what I was seeing.
I watched it
what I
this
thought
morning,
was.
so it was fresh for me. I watched the second one this morning.
I was pretty
Yeah.
transfixed by how hot that lady was, though. Too, you know.
You were watching,
Yeah.
you weren't listening.
Yeah, I was enjoying. I was like, man, he got a good vintage piece up in here. This lady
Yeah.
is just held up nicely. You know, I felt like is she not somebody from something, or is she just a friend of his? Because she looked familiar too. But I don't know. It's because initially I was like, what older horror movie is this lady from? You know, like they got like a cameo appearance by some old scream queen that I don't older scream queen that I'm not super familiar with or something. But I didn't get a chance to look it up to see if she was in anything else.
Oh, there's an Easter egg to part 3. Ah, good.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I like Easter eggs, and I think that is the next holiday around the corner, unless we count what's that?
We got My Bloody Valentine.
Day. Oh,
Yeah,
true. Yeah, which we might actually have to hit, and there's got to be some other ones.
Some Canadian gold.
And he says Donna has worked a lot, so definitely gonna have to look her up and see if I've seen anything that she's been in the past. And she was a treat. Single. You know, well, you know, I'm not confirming or denying that, but I'm just saying I wouldn't, you know, turn down. You find love in mysterious places sometimes.
There was one thing I wanted to say about this that that hasn't been mentioned is the music on both. I mean, one thing I learned a long time ago when I was actually doing music stuff, that whenever you want to play a song, you want to make it creepy, just change it to a minor key, and boom, anything sounds much creepier when you play it that way. And I don't know if that was the thought process for some of the music in the background, but it definitely works. And I do love those two ending Christmas songs that they have with the credits for both. I think that is great.
Yeah, and there is that part where the middle brother, is singing "Baby, It's Cold Outside."
Yes,
in a very sinister situation in the second one, and that I did appreciate quite a bit too.
One you got in the first one, he's eating those like blood cookies, singing "Silent Night." I believe "Silent Night."
Yeah, I think so. That's cool. I didn't honestly. I've only seen them the once, and it was very back to back in quick succession.
Right.
So I definitely need to give him another watch to appreciate the musical end of it. But I do feel like, from what I remember hearing, it fit the movie very well, and certainly didn't overpower what was going on. I mean, it's not the Burning score where you got the dude from Yes busting fucking like arpeggios on a fucking synthesizer or anything, but it fits the movie and it adds to the ambiance or whatever. I liked it. I did.
Yeah, that's
do we have any like music outside of the score in these? I don't remember if there was like any local bands or anything like that in it. I don't recall any rock music or anything like that would have leapt out at me when I was watching it, but it's possible it's there or in the credits. I do have to admit I did skip the credits on both of them because I was trying to get them both watched and done at the time. So.
Oh yeah, you missed it then for that. You should definitely go back and check out the credits for the music in it. It's not like huge, but it's still, I think it adds to it at the end.
Yeah, that's fun.
And we all appreciate that kind of stuff. So of course, yeah, these are definitely getting watched many more times in the future. Probably along with all those sequels, as long as none of them suck. No, I'll watch the shitty ones too, John. Okay, I promise. I have faith in you, though. These first two, I mean, if I had to give a vote of confidence on the quality of these things going forward, I would certainly be in favor of seeing more of them. It's not like some of these other low-budget series I've started where it's like, yeah, if I had to go based on those first two, it's going to be a while before I hit the 8th one where everyone says it gets good or something, But this one, I'm down to go any installment you want to drop. I'll check them out. Year round too. Fuck it. You don't gotta wait till Christmas to put these out. Us Schlockaholics over here we'll watch it in July. I don't care.
There you go. Christmas in July. Come back for it. Oh, shoot, I gotta talk about this one here when I get to it.
Oh shit. She worked with Ted V. Mickles, so that could be where I've seen something of her. And then he says, music to both is very 80s. Yeah, it's got that vibe. And then he said, not local, Disenchanter. That dude was wearing a shirt of them in, I think, the first movie. And I did wonder what that was. I assumed it might be a local band or perhaps another movie that John had done. But it's cool to know it's a band. I'll have to check them out today. And he also says, thanks. You're welcome. What were we saying, Brandon?
I was saying, yeah, I gotta find another excuse to watch this one here. This December.
Oh,
I've never seen it, but it looks cool.
It does
I
look
like
cool.
that cover art.
Has those really cool like slip covers, which
You know, the three of us will fall for a good cover any day.
oh heck yeah. I mean, when I got into their Black Friday sale, mainly for this, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I got in it for the Amityville. But
that cover art is probably way better than the movie, but that's just the way it goes with a lot of this stuff, especially when you get Vinegar Syndrome titles.
This is one of the few that has an older Amityville film that has not had a good U.S. release yet. Which is
then maybe I'm just not familiar with it. Is that like part 4?
Yeah,
it was a European one, I believe. And so it's only had really European releases. Like I have a Spanish release of this on Blu-ray, but
that would explain why I never heard of it then.
But I definitely wanted to get this one because it's a classic from what I have been told. Now, being told and actually it being a classic, but it was 1990 when this came out, so you know.
Well,
Yeah,
it's definitely better than this Amityville movie. I can promise you that without watching it. This movie lies.
You could get a mask for that clown, though.
I sent a copy to Dave for Christmas.
You mean the movie lied? That's fucked up. Dude.
Oh, there you go, Canada Amityville. That's what I was thinking. It was definitely not in the United States. That was yes.
It's Amityville.
But I'm going to be doing that on my channel. We're going to be covering every Amityville movie. Not as in depth as my psychoanalysis, but we're going to be covering it. I'm going to force Jake to sit down with me and watch not just the good ones, but all the bad ones. And we're going to talk about them one at a time until we get to them all.
As you should.
Based on the book. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I'm reading the comments as they come up.
Amityville's Fish Shack would be a fun one about like a haunted ice fishing shack. That would work.
Yeah, like a Canada one.
Canadian thing too. Yeah, we might have to make that one day. So since we have John here, I mean, surely we'll probably, if you're down, we'll get you on for like a proper interview in the future. But if I've got a couple of questions about these particular films for you. If you guys got a couple, go ahead. I have to go let this cat out, and I'll come back and I'll fire mine in there as well. So, hit it.
Hey, Brandon, you go ahead.
Well, I mean, I've gotten most of what I had to say out of the way. I do want to see some of those other ones, though. I do want to see. I've seen Axe Grinder 2, and I kind of felt bad because Axe Grinder 2 came out, and then they threw 3 and 4 out like within moments of it, and I felt like that kind of drowned it out. But and they weren't bad sequels. All of them aren't that bad. It's kind of weird that I haven't seen a lot of these films, but I've seen all the Axe Grinder films. But they just came out at the right time, and I definitely need to see more of the Meat Hook Massacre series because that's a fun. That looks like a fun series, and I've not seen any of those.
First one's another example of a movie that should be 30 minutes, but the other two I liked what I saw, so I'm looking forward to going further in it.
Yeah, you'll like
you guys
4
put
for
any
sure.
questions to them? You guys don't got any questions about these films?
You go right ahead.
Okay, the first thing I wanted to know was how long did it take you to shoot each of them? Ballpark. I mean, I don't know if you guys had to come back for pickups or anything later, but he says hit and miss, Axe Grinder and Meat Hook.
Yeah.
I can see that. Meat Hook, at least. Well, I mean, Axe Grinder, at least there's not too many of them yet. So, there's more hits than misses. But, the other one I can't say because I haven't seen it. So yeah, how long did it take you to shoot these? Again, ballparking it. And then what was probably the biggest logistical hurdle you had to work with in shooting this? It would be getting people together at the same time, dealing, was there any issues you had to deal with shooting down there in the depths of that storage facility? Any cool little tidbits like that you might want to throw out? I said part 1, 15 days, and part 2, 7 days. See, that's a
Part
good
1, 5
reflection
days.
of that. Oh, he said 5 days. Okay, thank you, Cody. That's, but in either case, it definitely, they took a little bit longer on the second film, but it pays off in the end, and it was a bit more complex of a project for sure. I do have to give him respect either way, because he didn't just shoot it in an afternoon. He took some time on it, and it certainly shows. It's reflected in the final product. We've definitely seen movies that were shot in a single day or over the course of like 2 days, and that also shows in the final product, and they can still be a lot of fun. But they're not going to be great to look at, whereas both of these movies are actually kind of a treat to look at, I must say. I said the cold. It was very cold. Yeah, I can imagine that, man. I don't know what time of the year you shot these at. Hopefully you weren't going for accuracy and shooting it in December. Did he say January earlier? Or am I imagining that?
I don't remember.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's not a lot of insulation in those storage units because they're not meant to be habitations,
Yeah.
You're just meant to be in there to like grab a box of your old bowling trophies or something. You're not supposed to hang out in there for fucking 7 days shooting a movie. So respect. Actors were good to work with, and they shot it in December and February. You're a madman, bro. I guess it beats being in there in the summer though, because on the flip side, while they're cold as fuck in winter, they can be hot as hell in the summertime, because you're just basically in an oven, it's being heated
with
by
no
the
airflow.
sun. So,
yeah,
I'd much rather deal with a cold than heat any time of the day, especially if I'm working or doing anything physical. And he said between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Makes sense, kind of like the after hours shift. Yeah, that's kind of mainly the things I had. And then I also wanted to know if like you just directed it or you shot and directed it, because again, I had to skip the credits at the time. And if so, was there any like movies specifically that you I don't want to say lifted shots, but took inspiration for certain shots from that people might not immediately recognize? Sometimes that happens, I mean, you're making a horror movie, but like you really liked the shot from like a Clint Eastwood movie or Vertigo or whatever, Garbage Pail Kids. It makes it in there. He produced, wrote, and directed both of them. Right on. So did you have a DP on there? You're like a dude shooting the movie for you, or did you also shoot it? Because it was really well shot, man. I think that's probably the strongest point of both of the movies is how well composed and shot they both are. Okay, so makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a possibility of a Scooby-Doo chase scene in the future of this franchise? Because that would really make my day, dude.
Those meddling kids,
like different, the different ones opening and closing.
Yeah, and the storage units are perfect for it. He had 2 different DPs, each with a different look. Between the 2 films, yeah, I suppose I could see that. The first one seemed to have a little bit more of a flair for angles, or you know what I mean. Like it felt like it was really playing with the environment of the storage unit in a way that the second one, since it's already established, goes for sort of a different kind of appeal when it comes to the way it was shot. Still great. Scooby-Doo, maybe, he says. So that's not a no. That's not a no.
You're telling me there's a chance.
And he said
Hey,
the DPs also edited the films, which is
Shoot,
neat.
even if you want to go serious with it, you can always do like a outtake where they do where you just go back and forth through the trailer.
Just
But,
have that be the credits, them doing
yeah,
that
there you go.
with the credits scrolling in front. I'll accept at least that, you know.
Shoot, add the Benny Hill theme in there and speed it up to double speed.
Yeah.
There you
Hell
go.
yeah.
Well, I know he had done. I know he did crowdfunding for parts 3 and 4. I don't know how I missed it. I don't know if it was before I knew about any of this stuff. So I'm wondering, is that going to come back up again? Is it closed? Did you able to get what was needed? Because that would be something I'd be definitely interested in looking at.
Same, man. You know, I don't do the crowdfunding as a habitual thing, but if there's something I am interested in legitimately, I will kick a fair amount of cash towards it. So that would be good information to know.
On that note, is there anything that you wanted to shout out? Actually, come to think of it, that we can help shout out for you, that would be coming up for you.
Most likely closed. Yeah, definitely, man. You know, we don't have a lot of reach yet, but we'll tell our friends for sure, and anyone listening to get on over there and check it out. So if there's anything upcoming projects that you want to plug, we'll certainly shine a light on them right now. I guess, Cody, this is a good point to ask you, since you've seen a lot more of this guy's stuff than I have, and possibly Brandon. What do you think are, like, you know, so outside of these, what are some good projects to hit?
I mean, the two big ones we've already discussed. I mean, I know he's acted in a lot of stuff. I don't know that how much other stuff he's, you know, directed or wrote or anything like that I might not know of. He also has he's done a lot of shorts and anthology series that I'm sure you guys have probably seen, not knowing he was even in it.
Yeah.
There's
like
definitely
VHS anthologies that he was part of or something. I did glance at his face or his IMDb.
Yeah, was it High 8 or High Death or?
Oh yeah, those are
Wings of
amazing.
Fear, something like
yeah.
that. I'm sure I'm mixing them up.
Second Ghoul is crowdfunding next year. Good to know. You know, appreciate you not starting it in December. I'd hate to have to not contribute right now because I'm trying to buy a PS5. Maybe I don't want it, but the kid does. Good to know, man. But yeah, definitely check out John's IMDb as well. You know, find some other stuff to watch over there. Check out some of his acting roles. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm not too familiar with this crowd of dudes. You know, is it just him that does this stuff, or is he associated with some of these other guys that you guys watch that I haven't gotten quite privy to yet?
I think I've seen VHS Violence too, but it's been a hot.
Those are the ones. Yeah, those stood out to me. Obviously, being a big video violence fan, as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this shows promise just from the title," you know. And I love a good anthology, as we've stated many times on the show. I think all of us. It's rare that you find three people that are diehard anthology fans hosting a podcast. I mean, I think there's always one or two people in the crowd that are like, I prefer a single movie that's like, you know, longer than it needs to be.
Which doesn't make sense.
You know, yeah, I love it. I mean, just give me all the fucking. Maybe it's because I grew up hardcore, like Tales from the Crypt kid, but
well, at least
and Twilight Zone and shit. I'll take that all day. Anthology stuff.
An anthology film, you are usually guaranteed to have at least one item from that. I mean, shoot, I just finished watching 13 Slays Till Christmas not long ago, and I love the heck out of that. And that was like 13 different tales. And so, you know, it's some pretty cool stuff. And of course, High 8 and High Death, good movies. Can't wait for the last one, which is High Fear. So also good stuff.
There's a science to it, man. I mean, if you're watching an anthology with X amount of tales in it, right? As we've said, you're guaranteed. It's a guarantee there's going to be at least one that you fucking like, you know. So better to have one portion of, and you can watch most anthologies in the same time it would take you to watch a regular feature-length film, you know. So the fact that there's guaranteed at least one fucking segment that you're gonna dig out of the 6 or 8 of them, or however many there is. At least you're getting a bit of that 90 minutes that's going to be awesome, as opposed to all 90 minutes of it sucking. Now, whether or not people want to agree with that science, it's fine. Just watch more anthology films and you'll come to discover that it is in fact tried and true. It's been tested by all 3 of us, and many more that came before. Oh yeah, we're about done here, boys. So he doesn't like to talk about Video Violence 1 and 2.
The VHS.
Oh, I'm so sorry, dude. I'm so sorry. It was like a 1 out of 5 chance I'd have been wearing my Video Violence shirt today. So those movies are pretty frequently on my mind, and the titles are close, but it's a bummer that you have a bad experience with those, but I'd still like to check them out. I'm a sucker for that stuff. Cody can fill me in later if you're comfortable with that, because I do like a good bit of I like some tea getting spilled. But we'll save that for once we're off there. So we are kind of right around our preferred time limit here for the night. I think that we did these movies justice. It was an honor and a privilege having you in here, John, to sort of clarify some things and enjoy the fun with us. We're looking forward to covering more of your films. And surely we'll be doing Axe Grind 2 soon. If anything, at the latest, it'll be the 1-year anniversary show, because we started this show with Axe Grinder, so we might as well make that a thing. We'll do at least one Axe Grinder movie a year, no matter how terrible they are. So look forward to that. He said, "Thank you so much. My honor in typing." Again, if you're down with it, one of these days we can get you on here for a little sit down. We did do one with Joseph Oakley not that long ago. Whole lot of fun. We did one with our buddy Boris from Dark Zone 13. Hopefully some other couple other people in the coming months here. And we'll talk more about your career as a whole, but you're more than welcome to join us for any of these discussions where we're talking about an individual film. And if you feel so inclined, you can even hop in here with us like Chris Seaver did for our Death of Lantern double feature. So, hell yeah. So other than that, what else do we have to plug, really? I mean, we're going to be getting back to the weekly Schlock Talks again once the holiday season winds down. I kind of had a change in work schedule, and then that coincided with the holidays mail season. And then obviously Cody also works in sort of a service industry job, so he's out there and dealing with the holiday crowds, and our Mondays aren't always as flexible as they used to be. And there's just something about that show. I really like doing it on a Monday. But those are going to be coming back more regularly in the near future. And this only gives, when we have these gaps, it just gives us more time to add shit to our watch list to talk about. Mine's going to be hefty come the next Schlock Talk. So
I'm looking forward to it.
So yeah, that's kind of been it, guys. You guys got anything personally you want to plug? You doing anything on any other channels recently, Cody? I know you do some unboxings or some talks. We never did plug that Nicolas Cage thing you talked about, I don't think.
Oh yeah, on John's show we did about Vampire's Kiss, and then kind of all things Nicolas Cage. So I mean, I could talk all day about that national treasure.
Yeah, I still got to get over there and listen to that, but it's on my list. What's that, Brandon?
Willy's Wonderland alone this past year.
Shit, dude. I mean, we grew up with him, but I think in modern times, I already knew he was legendary with the bees, and you guys all know what I'm talking about. But he's done much better since then, and it's fucking amazing. I love it. Still a couple of those I got to hit. Like, was it that Everything All the Time All at Once or whatever you were talking about? Is that one where he plays himself?
Oh, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I was thinking of that other movie that everyone was raving about. That one and Pig I still need to check out. So they're on the list. So yeah, thanks for watching. We have been the Schlockaholics. We all have been the Schlockaholics. You wouldn't be here if you weren't a Schlockaholic yourself. And we've got much more of this stuff coming up in the near future. Our very next and last holiday review for the season is going to be our discussion for Josh Swire's Happy Holidays. courtesy of Chris Seaver. So we'll be on for that one, and it's going to be a good time. I think that's going to fall right around a time when we'll be able to also even maybe talk and show you guys some of the stuff that we got for Christmas. So that'll be a fun episode. Again, just a short film. You can check it out somewhere out there, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Some of those Chris Seaver movies aren't easy to find. But if you have a copy, pull it out, watch it, show it to your friends. Be ready for that discussion. And be ready to tell us what you got for Christmas. You know, that's the fun of this shit. Interaction, baby. We get to find out, you know, who got sea monkeys and 12 fucking pairs of socks or whatever. So I'm looking forward to it. John Ward says Nick Cage is the GOAT. I'm inclined to agree, and I know you guys also respect that opinion, and that's a good place to close it out. So this was a fun one, guys. I enjoyed this. More of these, please. I think short films are definitely something that we can, you know, sort of pioneer focusing on a lot more. I mean, there's definitely podcasts that do it. I've been part of podcasts that do it, but I think podcasts should do it more often, especially because you can sandwich multiple of them together like this, and just get them out there to people. People tend to overlook short films, much like they do demos from their favorite bands. Listen to those fucking demos. Sometimes there's tracks on those demos that didn't exist later on, and you can get a little taste of what they were building off to make the shit that you're already familiar with. So cheers. Thanks for watching. I've been Mosley. That's been Cody. That's been Brandon. And, you know, we'll see you back here next time. You have a good night, John. Merry Christmas.